Hi, welcome back to the channel. Please subscribe and like. This channel is on its way to getting 500 subscribers at this point. We've only been going for 11 months, but it would be great to hit that mark, and we're so close at this point. So every little helps. So we're having a quick look at amp typographies today. Really straightforward stuff, but it will help people. I find that there are now a lot of presets in modeling, but it all comes from the legacy equipment that we've been using. So what I'm going to do today is show you some amp models using the Spark software. A lot of them are based on tube amps, but I'm going to show you one. The first one here is based on the Roland Jazz Chorus, which is a really wonderful solid state amp. And a lot of people say solid state, not good. I don't agree. I think this is a wonderful amp. This is a really big headroom clean. Really nice. Known for just being super lovely. If I max out the gain, it just gets a little bit flabby, but a really powerful coveted amp. One of the great amps. Next one on here is the Fender Twin. So the Fender Twin, it says black face because the fascia of the actual amp is black on the panel. And these all came into being in the mid-60s. So 65 is kind of like the era of the black face panel. Now these are known for having a relatively scooped mid-range. So the mid-range on these amps, which was they did a Twin, they did a Deluxe, they did a Pro reverb, they did the Super reverb. Wonderful family of amps, the Princeton as well, but they were all different sizes. My favourite is the Deluxe reverb from that time. Listen to that, it's kind of scooped out the mids, got a nice shiny top end there, really bright. They're known as a great pedal platform. The original amps, you can do your research, original amps had some tremolo and some reverb. And they sound really good with a bit of drive. So Tube Scream will add some mid-range to it. You know, if I chuck that. So they overdrive really nicely, and they're quite forgiving if you've got something really mid-humpy. Clons are quite, for me, a clon needs to be like in the last. It's a good clon sound to me. So they're known for that. Now the other thing is they have quite a nice gain kind of tone as well. Come on, I'll turn it off. Wind up. They do have a lot of headroom, these amps. So I prefer some of the smaller amps rather than the Twin. I'm going to show you the Matchless. Okay, so a Matchless, they're known for being high in harmonics and being super nice, clean tones. That's how sweet that is. would expect is to have some kind of compressor there to aid that noise. The Matchless is known for clean kind of tones, but they are a tube amp in real life. I think most of them on here. The ODS, now this is named after a Dumble. Dumble amps were made by a guy called, I think it was Howard Alexander Dumble, and he just made amps for people who he liked. Really, you know, you had to be, and he matched the amps to the guitar players. So a lot of them are quite magical. There's lots of, you know, I've not actually seen a Dumble in action. Some people, if you want to see one in real life, go and watch Robin Ford or Joe Bonamassa or Carlos Santana. Actually, tell a lie, I saw Carlos Santana and he has a Dumble along with some of his mezzo boogies. Let me just play this. This is just a thick, that's full of harmonics, full of sustain. John Mayer uses one as well. So, you know, now they have a really thick, lots of headroom. Stevie Ray Vaughan was known for using them as well. Now this one here is designed on the Overdrive Special. The Overdrive Special is more of an overdriven Dumble sound. John Mayer, Corey Wong, Stevie Ray are known for using steel string singers. I think John Mayer has an ODS as well, and an Overdrive Special too. When you drive them, again, full of wonderment. So if you want that lovely Dumbly tone, there's a lot of things that are trying to model that sound. The funny thing is about all of this is, you know, not many people in real life actually get to go near a Dumble amp. So it's one of them things really that you can my experience is just amp modelers. There's a brand called Two Rock, and there's a brand called Amplified Nation. They do Dumble sort of clone type things that look really interesting. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you some more amps that are very archetypical. This one's called the Tweed Bass. Now the Tweed Bass is based on a 1959 Fender Bassman. So what you have with these kind of amps, they were made in the 50s. They were very tweed. They were tweed covered. There was the Fender made a deluxe reverb. A Fender Deluxe like this, not a reverb. And they made a 59 Bassman. It's the latest Tone Master amp is a 59 Bassman, and they do sound wonderful. Check this out. So there's that lovely valve chimey classic. They make a really great kind of rhythm amp, but this is the cool thing with these, right? They overdrive really nicely as well. So it's again a different typology of amp, valve driven, normally with valve rectifiers as well, and they are just a thumpy mid loose kind of sounding amp, very different to the black face Fenders that we looked at the beginning. because they are that more sort of old school classic. They've still got a glassiness to them, but they've got a lot of mid. This is an AC30. These are a classic amp. If you've never played an AC30, you've definitely heard them. So your artists that use an AC30 are going to be, Rory Gallagher would be my first starting point, and he had a really warm sounding Stratocaster. It's quite compressed sounding and boxy, but at the same time it's chimey. Beautiful British kind of amp sound. Brian May from Queen is known for just having, you know, a really fully turned up AC30. You can hear it. That kind of sound rings out really well. The next one is the Fender Deluxe. This is based on the 5E, I think it's called the 5E3. Very easy to wind up and crank up these amps. That sounds wonderful. So this, it's got a real thick mid sound. It distorts really nicely. Very pleasing to the ear. If you wind up the volume, you get all the distortion. It's really hard to pick the notes out when it's fully wound up. Neil Young is known for using a Deluxe to great sound. There's a pedal by UAFX called the Woodrow, and that does a fantastic version of the amp. Next one I'm going to show you is one of my favourite amps ever. It's the JTM 45. Now the JTM 45 is what Eric Clapton used. He used a combo version of it with 2 speakers in for the Blues Breakers album. The JTM 45 had like 4 inputs, and you could jump the inputs as well to make it sound like to use the 2 channels in it. But this amp you could overdrive it really easy. I've got the gain up a little bit. So it's good for that sort of stuff, but you can hear that classic Marshall sound, all started with the JTM. It's a little bit less distorted than the newer models, and you know, especially if you wind it back to about here. Sounds brilliant. This amp developed, so they started to make them louder because it was a 45 watt amp. They made them up to 100 watts. The Plexi is the louder version of that. And because of that, they had bigger transformers. The quality of the transformer in an amp makes a really big difference. That's a kind of my favourite kind of Marshall tone, really. And let's have a look. The orange sound. So you've got orange amps. Orange amps were made in the UK in the 60s. They first started to come out. And orange, they have really cool, normally on an orange amp you'd have cymbals instead of gain, bass, treble. Obviously in this modeler here that I'm using it won't. but it's got that British kind of sound, that EL34. There's a thickness. It's almost like there's a fuzz going on, but there isn't. It's just how that amp sounds. It's just wonderful. So the orange amps are really good for gain. Now we're moving into high gain. So American high gain is where we have more gain stages. So you might have 4 or 5 preamp tubes cascade in the gain stage. One of the first companies to sort of pioneer that was Mesa Boogie. So whenever someone says that American sound, it's normally a Mesa Boogie. It does sound very American. It has that has those 6L6 kind of tubes driving it, and that's, if I just crack that gain up. What used to happen in the 2000s, late 90s, 2000s, people would turn the bass and the treble up and the mid down to get almost like a V shape in the EQ curve, and that's how they would treat them. The Soldano, again, is a legendary tube amp for super high cascading gain. A lot of the Steve I Passion and Warfare was done using this amp. So you would expect singing sustain. That would be the Soldano sound. Good for rhythm as well, but they really cut through nicely. This is your rectifier sounds, the Mesa Boogie rectifier. Again, a lot of that. These amps were amazing in the time, very heavy, a lot of maintenance, but again, that kind of insane level of gain. I'm going to just show you 2 more classic amps. This is 5150 Van Halen design amp. And again, really high liquidy kind of sounding leads. And then my favorite at the moment is the Friedman sound. So Friedman are almost like you've got your Marshall sound and we've added some manageable, I don't know, it's just a lot easier to play. The gain is wonderful. The gain's there but controllable. And it's kind of like when Marshall started adding more gain stages and they had the JCM 800s, but there's just something extra with a Friedman. And what I've found is, within the world of modelling, they've always done a great kind of version of it. The real ones are just insane sounding, but it's just great. Whenever they model it, it just sounds wonderful. So from the beginning, the topography really is, you've got the Jazz Chorus is a classic amp. The Blackface Fender sound is more scooped. You've got the matchless sound, again, quite open sounding and sweet. You've got the big, thick Dumble tone. You've got your Tweed 59 Deluxe kind of sound. Again, thick, big, but also ready to distort, ready to be quite chunky sounding. You've got your AC30, again, a really sweet sounding amp, but can be a real, can be wound up for a really nice thick tone. You've got your American Deluxe, which is the 5EB Fender sound, the JTM 45 and the Plexi. High gain sounds, the Orange sound. Orange sound is its own thing. The Soldano, which is a thick lead tone. Your Rectifier, which is great for rhythm. And I've got the 5150 here as a real classic amp. I've just gone to the BE 100 as well, which is again another classic, a modern classic amp. So hopefully you have some idea of what these kind of things mean, what kind of tubes and how they kind of work topography wise. And there's actually a bit of a tree to how these work, so I'll work that way as well.